Pisa is not the Leaning Tower.
Today it's the city's symbol, but for centuries Pisa worked hard to build an identity entirely separate from that embarrassing book job.
So, if it wasn't just a town with a sinking bell tower, what was its true identity?
The most accurate description comes from its greatest enemy.
Pisa, thou opprobrium of the people.
A little heavy, I'll admit, but he wasn't completely wrong. Pisa was ruthless.
As one of the 4 maritime republics, Pisa didn't do things politely. They bankrolled their pristine white cathedral by hunting down Mediterranean pirates, but even their rivals weren't safe from Pisa's ambitions. Amalfi paid the price twice in the first half of the 12th century, a blow she would never recover from.
Behind the holy architecture of the cathedral square lay an uncompromising, unapologetic soul that would make the city itself not just a military powerhouse, but a cauldron for intellectual rebellion. The first disruptor to emerge from that cauldron was the zero. Yes, the number 0. To understand why a number was so dangerous, we need to look at the system in place before it.
For centuries, Europe had run on Roman numerals. They were magnificently pompous, designed to be carved into marble monuments. Take the number 3,888. For us, 4 measly digits. For Julius Caesar, oh, this was a 15-character affair. Basic math was doable, if you knew how to work an abacus.
But the complex mathematical reality of merchants was completely impossible on such a system.
But the 0 didn't just float across the Mediterranean on its own. Enter Leonardo of Pisa, son of Guglielmo. Born around 1170, he grew up in the dazzling, high-stakes world of international trade. Guglielmo wasn't your average market trader haggling in the streets. He was a wealthy diplomat and a top state official representing Pisa's massive international empire. The Republic appointed him as their main customs director and consul, putting him in charge of all Pisan merchants in North Africa.
He was so successful that he earned the nickname Bonaccius. That meant lucky or good-natured.
Because of his father's powerful posting, Leonardo didn't grow up in Pisa. He was raised in Bugia, in Algeria, where he would discover a mathematical reality that would blow his mind.
And change the world.
In the bustling markets of Bugia, he saw the Hindu-Arabic numerals for the first time. For a kid raised on the clumsy Roman numerals, this Arabic math almost looked like magic. Only 9 digits and a bizarre symbol for nothing.
He realized instantly that Europe's way of counting was primitive, and that if he could import such a system back home, it would spark a global financial revolution.
Driven by his thirst for knowledge, Leonardo abandoned his traditional merchant training and set out on a decade-long scouting mission across the Mediterranean. For the next 10 years, he went deep into Islamic territory, looking for math masters. He wanted their secrets. But this was no ordinary time. The Crusades defined the relationship between the Christian and the Islamic worlds. A Christian merchant going around the intellectual hubs of the Islamic world, asking questions and prying into their scientific secrets, carried a very real, very physical risk.
But nothing could stop him. He'd seen a glimpse of the future, and he wanted it.
10 years and an unknown number of notebooks later, he was finally ready to sail back to Pisa. In the year 1200, he finally arrived in Pisa, where he spent the next 2 years furiously organizing his notes into what would become the most revolutionary text of the Middle Ages.
In 1202, Leonardo Fibonacci published his bestseller, the Liber Abaci, in which he introduced the 9 digits from 1 to 9 he called Indian, because they did come from India, and the 0.
With no Latin word or Roman numeral for 0, Fibonacci simply Latinized the Arabic word sifr, meaning empty, into zephyrum,
When the Liber Abaci and its new digits got exported to the Republic of Venice, the Venetians pronounced sifr zevero, from which we get our own word zero today.
But a book alone wasn't enough to convince Europe, especially not if it talked about rabbits.
Yes, rabbits, although it was less cute pet and more math problem. The question is,
if you put a single pair of baby rabbits in a closed field, and every month they mature and produce a new pair, which then also produces a new pair, how many rabbits do you have at the end of the year?
don't ask me, I studied history.
When Fibonacci solved it using his new digits, the answer formed a very specific pattern. 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, and so on.
Every number is the sum of the two before it. What he discovered then, it's now famously called the Fibonacci sequence.
And it turns out it's not just applied to rabbits. But the European elite didn't care about breeding bunnies. When Leonardo returned to Pisa, he was viewed as eccentric. They took to calling him Bigollo, which technically translates to traveler, but doubled as the local slang for blockhead.
Nobody was buying into his magical numbers, except one man.
In the 1220s, the Holy Roman Emperor Frederick II Hohenstaufen, known as the Stupor Mundi, the wonder of the world, came to town. He was well-read, deeply curious, and an absolute genius.
He had heard of this new mathematical discovery and wanted a demonstration. What better than a duel?
In the red corner, representing the empire, John of Palermo, the establishment's heavyweight champion, armed with the absolute pinnacle of classical Roman numerals. And in the blue corner, the challenger, Leonardo the Blockhead Fibonacci, armed with 9 imported digits and the zero.
It wasn't even a fight. 3 questions, 3 answers.
He solved the problems in a fraction of the time it took the imperial scholars to even set up their abaci. The crowd went wild. The emperor was absolutely stunned.
Instead of executing the impertinent upstart for embarrassing his court, Frederick II became Fibonacci's #1 fan, showering him in imperial praise and funding.
The stuffy Pisan establishment suddenly had to eat their words. The man they had laughed at as a daydreaming blockhead had just put their entire city on the intellectual map of Europe. In 1240, the Republic of Pisa made it official. They issued a grand state decree, granting Leonardo a prestigious lifetime salary.
He was explicitly recognized not as a crazy outcast, but as a priceless civic asset.
His revolutionary accounting methods would make Pisa wealthy beyond measure.
Leonardo Bigollo Fibonacci had won.
But then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, he vanished from history. It's believed he died around 1250, likely in Pisa, but there is no grand mausoleum, no pompous marble monument for the man who brought Europe the zero. But the tides of history are slow to turn. The ruthless merchants immediately latched onto this new discovery, but the government establishment was far more wary.
In 1280, the city of Florence banned the use of the Indo-Roman numerals for the bankers because there had been a lot of allegations of cheating and fraud. Since in those days the zero was written like a lowercase o, basically the bankers said they could add a tail up and make a 6, a tail down and make a 9, or add another 0 on top and make an 8, thus cooking the books.
But official banishments couldn't stop progress forever. One by one, every city in Europe caved. By the 16th century, the Hindu-Arabic numerals were everywhere. And that bizarre sequence, once used to count imaginary rabbits, was eventually recognized as the foundational blueprint, not just for human architecture, but for nature itself, the Golden Ratio.
To say Pisa completely forgot about him wouldn't be completely fair.
If you look hard enough today, his lonely marble statue is quietly tucked away in a corner of the Camposanto.
Although not many would actually see it.
They're too busy doing this.
But Leonardo's true monument is not made of stone. It's the modern world, A legacy not carved in marble, but hardwired into the lives of millions of people every single day.